Welcome back to Easy English Talk Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Easy English Talk Podcast, the place where we help you grow your English and grow as a person at the same time. I'm Ryan, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Priya. Priya, how are you doing today?
Ryan, I'm doing really well. Thank you for asking. I had a quiet morning with a good cup of tea, so honestly, I feel ready for a great conversation today. How about you?
I'm feeling good too, thank you. I actually had a pretty busy morning, but once I sat down and started thinking about today's topic, I got genuinely excited. It's one of those topics that almost everyone can relate to personally.
Yes, and I think that's what makes today's episode so special. It's not just about English, it's about something real that happens in everyday life. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Before we get started, I want to take a moment and speak directly to you, our listener. Wherever you are in the world right now, whether you're on a train, at home, taking a walk, or sitting at your desk, welcome. We are so glad you're here with us today.
And we truly mean that. Every single person listening is on their own journey to improve their English, and we are honored to be a small part of that journey. So thank you for choosing to spend this time with us.
Now, I'd love to know, where are you listening from today? Drop a comment and let us know your city or your country. We read every single comment, and it always makes us so happy to see how far this podcast reaches around the world.
Yes, please do share. And while you're at it, we'd love to hear from you. Is Easy English Talk Podcast helping you improve your English? Is it helping you feel more confident in your daily conversations? Your feedback means everything to us.
Your thoughts genuinely help us make the podcast better for you, so don't be shy. Leave a comment, share your experience, and let us know what topics you'd like us to cover next. We're always listening.
And if this podcast has been helpful to you, please share it with a friend who is also learning English. Sometimes the best gift you can give someone is a resource that actually helps them grow.
Absolutely. Now, today, we are discussing how to tell someone you're not interested respectfully. And I want to say right away, if you've ever struggled with this, you are not alone. This is something almost every person on earth has faced at some point.
That's so true. And here's the thing. If you stay with us until the end of this episode, you will walk away with clear, simple, and natural English phrases you can use in real life. You'll also understand why this topic matters so much for your confidence and your relationships.
So, whether you've been in an awkward situation where someone liked you romantically and you didn't feel the same way, or whether someone kept inviting you somewhere you didn't want to go, this episode is going to help you handle those moments with kindness and confidence.
And from an English learning perspective, this episode will show you how to use polite, calm, and respectful language under pressure. That's a real skill, and it takes practice to get right.
So, let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about why this is such a difficult thing for so many people. Why is it so hard to simply say, I'm not interested?
I think the first and most honest reason is that most people are afraid of hurting someone else's feelings. We are naturally social creatures, and we don't want to be the reason someone feels rejected or sad. That fear is very real and very human.
And that fear often makes us do the opposite of what we should do. Instead of being honest, we become vague. We say things like, maybe, or let me think about it, or I'll let you know. And that, honestly, can make things worse.
Exactly. Because when we're vague, the other person often hears what they want to hear. They think maybe means probably yes, and then the situation becomes even more complicated later on.
So the avoidance that we think is being kind is actually creating more confusion and more pain down the road. That's a really important point to understand right from the start.
And there's another reason people struggle with this. They simply don't know the right words to use, especially in English, where tone matters just as much as the actual words. Saying something the wrong way can sound harsh, even if you didn't mean it to be.
That's such a good point. In English, how you say something is often just as important as what you say. The same message delivered with warmth and care sounds completely different than when it's said coldly or abruptly.
And for English learners especially, this can be very challenging. You might know what you want to say in your heart, but finding the right English words, the ones that are honest but also gentle, that's a whole separate skill.
So today, we're going to build that skill together. We're going to look at real situations, real phrases, and real ways of handling these conversations so that you feel prepared the next time you face one.
And I think it's worth saying that learning how to decline someone respectfully is not just a social skill. It's also a sign of emotional maturity. It shows that you respect both yourself and the other person.
Let's talk about the different situations where someone might need to say they're not interested, because this topic is not just about romantic situations. It covers a wide range of everyday moments.
You're absolutely right. The most obvious one is the romantic situation, when someone asks you out on a date or expresses romantic feelings for you, and you don't feel the same way. That's probably the most emotionally sensitive version of this conversation.
But there are so many others. A friend might keep inviting you to events you don't enjoy. A colleague might be trying to start a friendship that you don't have the energy for. Or someone might be trying to sell you something and won't take a gentle no as an answer.
Even in a professional setting, imagine someone offering you a job, a project, or a collaboration that simply isn't right for you. Saying no in that context also requires skill and grace.
So in all of these situations, the core challenge is the same. How do you communicate clearly and honestly without making the other person feel bad or disrespected?
And I think that's the heart of it. The goal is not to avoid saying no. The goal is to say no in a way that still honors the other person's dignity. That's what respectfully really means.
I love that framing, honoring the other person's dignity. Because rejection, in any form, can sting. And while we can't always prevent someone from feeling disappointed, we can control how we deliver the message.
We can choose words that are clear without being cruel. We can choose a tone that is firm without being cold. And we can choose a moment and a method of delivery that shows we actually care about the other person's feelings.
Okay, so let's move into the actual solutions now. Let's start with the most fundamental principle, and that is, be honest, but be kind. These two things are not opposites. They can absolutely work together.
This is so important. A lot of people think that being honest means being blunt, but that's not true. You can tell someone the truth in a way that is gentle and thoughtful. Those two things can live in the same sentence.
For example, instead of saying, I don't like you in that way, which sounds harsh and abrupt, you could say, I really enjoy your company, but I don't think we have a romantic connection. That's honest, and it's kind.
Do you notice how the second version acknowledges something positive first before delivering the honest message? That structure, positive, then honest, is a really powerful way to deliver difficult news without it feeling like a sudden punch.
That's a great technique. Always find something genuine and true to acknowledge before you deliver the harder part of the message. It's not about being fake. It's about being complete and fair in what you say.
And when you do that, the other person feels seen and respected even in a moment of disappointment. They know you're not dismissing them entirely. You're just being honest about one specific thing.
And that makes a huge difference. There is a real difference between feeling rejected and feeling dismissed. Rejection is painful, but it's understandable. Dismissal, feeling like the other person doesn't care about you at all, that's much harder to recover from.
So our first principle is lead with genuine kindness, then deliver honesty. Don't skip either part. Both matter.
Now, let's talk about the second principle. And this one is about being direct. Because as much as we want to be kind, we also need to be clear. Vagueness is not kindness.
This is something a lot of people get wrong. They think that being indirect or unclear is a gentler way to say no, but actually it often causes more pain in the long run, not less.
When you say things like, I've been really busy lately, or I just have a lot going on right now, you're not actually saying no. You're delaying the truth. And the other person is left in a state of uncertainty and false hope.
And false hope is one of the most emotionally exhausting things a person can experience. You're not helping them by giving them hope when there is none. You're actually making it harder for them to move forward.
So being direct is actually an act of kindness, even though it might not feel that way in the moment. When you're clear, you give the other person the chance to accept the situation and start healing.
And being direct doesn't mean being aggressive or cold. You can be very direct and still be very warm. For example, I've really enjoyed getting to know you, and I want to be honest with you. I don't see this becoming a romantic relationship for me. That is direct, and it is kind.
Notice that the sentence doesn't leave room for misinterpretation. It doesn't say right now or maybe someday. It's clear. But it also starts with appreciation and honesty about the positive experience.
That clarity is a gift. It might sting for a moment, but it allows the other person to process the reality and move forward. That's far more respectful than weeks of confusion and mixed signals.
The third principle is something I think is really underappreciated, and that is, you don't owe anyone a detailed explanation. Many people feel obligated to give long, complicated reasons when they say no, but you don't have to.
This is such a freeing idea, and I'm glad you brought it up. A lot of people, especially people pleasers, feel like they need to justify their decision in great detail to prove that it's valid. But your feelings are valid simply because they are yours.
Exactly. You don't need to explain every reason why you don't feel a certain way. A simple, honest, and respectful statement is enough. You're not in a courtroom. You don't have to prove your case.
And actually, when you over-explain, it can sometimes make the conversation more confusing. The other person starts analyzing every detail, looking for a loophole, wondering if one reason can be changed or fixed. A clear, simple message is actually easier for everyone.
So instead of saying, well, I've been really focused on my career, and I'm not sure I'm in the right place emotionally, and I've also had some difficult experiences in the past, and you can simply say, I don't think we're the right match, but I genuinely wish you well.
That's enough. That is a complete and respectful message. It doesn't require 100 reasons or a long defense. It says what needs to be said with care and dignity.
And this is also a very useful English communication principle in general. Learning to say what you mean clearly and concisely without over-explaining or rambling. It's a skill that serves you in many areas of life.
Absolutely. Whether it's in a personal conversation, a professional email, or a presentation, learning to be clear without being verbose is one of the most powerful communication skills you can develop.
Now let's talk about something that comes up a lot in these situations. What do you do when the other person doesn't accept your answer? When they push back, keep asking questions, or try to change your mind?
Oh, this is such a real and challenging situation. You've done everything right. You've been kind, you've been direct, you've been clear, and the other person still says, but why? Are you sure? Maybe you just need more time.
And in that moment, a lot of people feel pressured to either give in and say maybe just to end the discomfort, or they swing the other way and become harsh because they feel cornered. Both of those reactions can make things worse.
The key in that situation is to stay calm and repeat your position, calmly, without adding new explanations or getting defensive. This technique is sometimes called the broken record method, and it's surprisingly effective.
So if the person says, but why? We get along so well. You can simply say, I understand, and I do enjoy our conversations. But my answer is the same. I'm not interested romantically. And then you stop there.
You don't need to add more reasons. You don't need to justify yourself again. You've already said what you needed to say. Repeating it calmly and kindly is both strong and respectful.
And this teaches the other person in a very gentle way that your answer is final. Not because you're being cruel, but because you've made a clear and considered decision and you're standing by it.
It also protects your own emotional energy. When you keep giving new reasons under pressure, you're essentially opening new conversations every time. Staying calm and consistent closes that loop in a healthy way.
Let's now talk about some specific English phrases and sentences that you can actually use. Because I know many of our listeners want practical language, words they can practice and use in real life.
Yes, this is the part where we get very practical. And I want to remind our listeners, write these down, pause the episode, repeat them out loud. Making them your own is the best way to be ready when you need them.
So let's start with the romantic situation. If someone asks you on a date or tells you they have feelings for you and you don't feel the same way, here are some natural, kind, and clear phrases you can use.
You could say, I'm really flattered, and I think you're a wonderful person, but I don't feel a romantic connection between us. That phrase is warm, honest, and clear, all at once.
Another good option is, I really enjoy spending time with you, but I see us more as friends. I hope that's okay, and I hope we can keep that friendship. That's gentle, and it also offers something positive, the friendship, rather than just taking something away.
Or you can say, I appreciate you being honest with me. That takes courage, but I have to be honest with you too, and I don't see this becoming something romantic for me. That one acknowledges the other person's bravery while still being clear.
All three of those phrases share something in common. They acknowledge the other person, they express something genuine and positive, and then they deliver the honest message clearly and without cruelty.
And the tone matters enormously here. These words, spoken in a warm, calm, and sincere voice, will land very differently than the same words spoken coldly or impatiently. So practice the tone, not just the words.
Now let's look at the social situation. When a friend or acquaintance keeps inviting you to things you're not interested in. This one can be tricky because you don't want to hurt the friendship, but you also don't want to keep saying yes to things that drain you.
And this is more common than people realize. Maybe a friend loves going to loud parties and you prefer quiet evenings. Maybe a coworker keeps inviting you to group activities after work and you genuinely need that time for yourself.
In those cases, you can say something like, "I really appreciate you thinking of me, but that kind of event isn't really my thing. I hope you have a great time." That's friendly, honest, and free of any guilt or drama.
If it becomes a pattern and the person keeps pushing, you can be a little more direct. "I know you enjoy these events, and I'm glad you do, but I've realized they're just not something I enjoy, so I'll pass. But thank you for always inviting me."
That message communicates that you've thought about it, that it's not personal, and that you're still warm toward the person. You're just being honest about your preferences. That's healthy and mature communication.
And it's also a great way to model for the other person what honest and respectful communication looks like. Sometimes when we're direct and kind, we actually make it easier for others to be the same way with us.
Let's also address the professional situation. When someone offers you a job, a collaboration, or a project, and you need to decline. This requires a slightly different tone, but the same core principles apply.
In a professional context, you want to be especially clear and concise. Long emotional explanations don't fit the professional tone, but you still want to be warm and appreciative because professional relationships matter.
You could say, "Thank you so much for thinking of me for this opportunity. After careful consideration, I've decided it's not the right fit for me at this time, but I truly appreciate your confidence in me."
Or in a simpler form, "I'm grateful for this offer, and I've given it real thought. Unfortunately, I won't be able to take this on, but I wish you and the team great success with it."
Both of those are professional, warm, and respectful. They don't over-explain, they don't apologize excessively. They simply decline with grace and close the conversation cleanly.
And in professional settings especially, people respect clarity. When you say clearly and politely that your answer is no, most professionals will respect that immediately and move forward. It actually saves everyone time and energy.
There's one more situation I want to talk about, and it's a slightly sensitive one. What if you need to tell someone you're not interested, and that person is someone you genuinely care about? A close friend, maybe, who has developed feelings for you.
Ah, yes. This is probably the most emotionally complex version of this conversation, because you don't want to lose the friendship. You care about this person, but you also know that staying silent or being vague isn't fair to either of you.
In this situation, I think the most important thing is to find a private, calm moment to have the conversation. Not over text, not in a public place where they might feel embarrassed, but somewhere quiet and safe for both of you.
That choice of setting already communicates respect. It says, "I care about you enough to have this conversation properly. I'm not brushing you off or avoiding you. I'm here and I'm taking this seriously."
And in that conversation, you can say something like, "Our friendship means so much to me, and because it means so much, I want to be honest with you. I don't have romantic feelings, and I think being clear about that is better for both of us in the long run."
That phrase is doing a lot of important work. It values the friendship, it explains why honesty is the kind choice, and it frames the whole conversation as something you're doing for both of you, not just for yourself.
And after you say that, give the other person space. They might need time to process. They might feel sad or embarrassed. That's natural and okay. You don't need to fix their feelings immediately. Just be kind and patient.
And don't be afraid of a moment of silence. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do after delivering a hard truth is to simply stay present and give the other person time to breathe and feel what they need to feel.
I want to take a moment now to talk about something that runs through all of these situations, and that is the importance of self-respect alongside respect for others. Because a lot of people forget that their own feelings and boundaries matter too.
This is so important and often overlooked. When we talk about being respectful and kind to the other person, we sometimes make it sound like it's all about managing their emotions. But your emotions and your needs are equally valid.
You are allowed to not be interested. You are allowed to say no. You don't need to feel guilty for having honest feelings or for not having certain feelings that someone wishes you had. Your feelings are not something you choose.
And when you deliver a respectful decline, you are actually honoring both people in that interaction. You're honoring the other person by being honest, and you're honoring yourself by being true to your own feelings and not pretending.
Pretending to be interested when you're not, that's not kindness. It feels like kindness in the short term because it avoids discomfort. but in the long term, it leads to much bigger problems and much deeper pain for everyone involved.
So real kindness is honest kindness. It's the courage to say the truth gently. And that takes practice, both emotionally and in terms of the language you use. But it is absolutely a skill you can develop.
And that's exactly what we're trying to help you do today. Not just improve your English, but build the confidence and the language to navigate real human situations with honesty and grace.
Because at the end of the day, that's what meaningful communication is. It's not just words. It's the ability to connect, to be honest, and to treat people with dignity, including yourself.
Let's talk about what not to do, because sometimes understanding the mistakes helps just as much as understanding the right approach.
Absolutely. One of the most common mistakes people make is ghosting, which means simply disappearing and stopping all communication without any explanation. Many people do this because it feels like the easiest option.
But ghosting is one of the least respectful things you can do. It leaves the other person in a state of confusion and self-doubt. They keep wondering, did I say something wrong? Did something happen? What did I do?
And that kind of uncertainty can actually be more painful than a clear, honest rejection. At least with a clear answer, the person knows where they stand. Ghosting denies them that dignity.
Another common mistake is giving mixed signals after you've already declined. Maybe you felt guilty and decided to be extra friendly to compensate, but the other person reads that as a sign that things might have changed.
So once you've had the conversation and been clear, try to be consistent in your behavior as well. You can still be kind and friendly, but be aware of the signals your actions send, not just your words.
A third mistake is apologizing excessively. Of course, it's natural to say, "I'm sorry if this is hard to hear." That's human and warm. But endlessly apologizing for your own feelings can actually confuse the message.
When you say, "I'm so sorry, I'm really sorry, I feel terrible," over and over, the focus shifts from the message to your guilt, and the other person might even end up comforting you instead of processing their own feelings. Keep apologies brief and genuine.
And a fourth mistake is letting the conversation drag on and on. Some people, out of guilt or uncertainty, keep talking and talking after the message has been delivered. But once you said what needed to be said, it's okay to let the conversation close.
You don't need to keep explaining. You don't need to fill every silence with more words. Say what you need to say, be kind, and then allow the conversation to reach a natural end. That's often the most respectful thing you can do.
Now, I want to spend a moment on the other side of this. What if someone tells you they're not interested in you? How should you receive that message?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought this up, Brian, because how we receive a rejection says a lot about our character and our emotional intelligence. And it's also a really important communication skill.
The first thing to remember is that the other person's feelings are just as valid as yours. You might feel hurt, you might feel confused, but they are allowed to not feel what you wish they felt. Those are two separate things.
So when someone tells you they're not interested, the most dignified response is to thank them for their honesty and accept their answer. Something like, "I appreciate you telling me that. I respect your honesty." That's powerful and mature.
And it actually does something incredible for you in that moment. It maintains your dignity. Instead of begging, arguing, or trying to change their mind, you've shown that you are a person of grace and strength.
And it makes the whole experience less painful for both people. When a rejection is received well, both people can walk away from it with their dignity intact. That's a much better outcome than a long, painful argument.
Accepting rejection gracefully is honestly one of the most attractive qualities a person can have. It shows emotional maturity, self-respect, and the ability to handle life's difficult moments with composure.
And from an English learning perspective, practicing these phrases out loud is so valuable. Thank you for being honest with me. I respect your decision. Say those words, practice them, so that when the moment comes, they're ready for you.
Let's go back to the language for a moment and look at a few more useful phrases, because I want our listeners to have as many tools as possible.
Great idea. Here's one that works really well in many situations. I think you're a great person, and I don't want to give you the wrong idea, so I want to be honest. I'm not looking for anything beyond friendship. That's kind, clear, and preemptive.
Another one I love is, "I've really enjoyed our conversations, and I want to be fair to you by being honest. I don't see this going in a romantic direction." That phrase, "be fair to you," is particularly powerful. It reframes honesty as a form of respect.
For a more casual situation, something like, "Hey, I really like you as a person, but I want to be upfront. I'm not interested in anything romantic. I hope that's okay." Short, warm, direct works really well.
And for situations where someone keeps pushing after you've already said no, I've already shared how I feel, and my answer hasn't changed. I hope you can respect that. Firm, calm, completely respectful.
That last one is so useful. It doesn't attack the other person. It doesn't get emotional. It simply restates your position and invites them to respect it. Most reasonable people will respond well to that.
And for English learners specifically, notice how all of these phrases use simple vocabulary. You don't need complex grammar or advanced words to communicate something important. Simple and clear is always the most powerful approach.
That's a great reminder. In English communication, simplicity is a strength. The most effective communicators are not the ones who use the most complicated language. They're the ones who are clearest and most direct.
I want to talk about something related to all of this, and that is the idea of timing. When is the right time to have this conversation?
Timing really does matter. If you can tell that someone has feelings for you or is becoming attached, it's actually better to address it sooner rather than later. Waiting too long makes it harder for everyone.
The longer you wait, the deeper the other person's feelings can grow, and the more painful the eventual conversation will be. Addressing it early, while it's still manageable, is genuinely the kinder choice.
That said, you also want to choose a moment when you're both calm and when there's enough privacy for a real conversation. Not in the middle of a group, not when one of you is stressed or emotional, not over a quick text.
If the situation is romantic, a one-on-one setting, in person if possible, is usually the most respectful choice. It shows that you take the other person's feelings seriously enough to have a real conversation.
And if in-person isn't possible, maybe you're in different cities, then a phone or video call is a reasonable alternative. What matters is that the person can hear your voice and your tone, not just read words on a screen.
Text messages are often misread. A message that you meant kindly can come across as cold or careless when the other person can't hear your voice. So whenever this conversation matters, try to have it in a way that allows your warmth to come through.
And after the conversation, give the other person some time and space. They might need a few days to process their feelings. That's completely normal and okay. You've done your part. Now allow them to feel what they need to feel.
There's one more thing I want to talk about before we start wrapping up, and that's the role of body language and nonverbal communication. Because how you hold yourself during this conversation matters too.
This is such an important point. When we think about communication, we often only think about the words. But research consistently shows that a huge part of how a message is received depends on nonverbal cues.
So when you're having this conversation, try to make comfortable eye contact. Not staring, but present. Keep your posture open and calm. Don't cross your arms or look away constantly, as that can signal discomfort or dismissiveness.
And speak slowly and calmly. Don't rush through the words as if you just want to get it over with. Speak at a pace that says, I'm giving this conversation the time and care it deserves.
Your facial expression should also be gentle. You don't need to smile broadly. That might seem inappropriate in a serious moment. But a calm, soft expression communicates care and respect even before a word is spoken.
And listen, too. After you've said your piece, allow the other person to respond. Don't just deliver your message and immediately change the subject or leave. Stay present, listen to them, and acknowledge what they share with you.
That kind of active, caring listening is one of the most underrated communication skills. It shows that even in a difficult moment, you're still treating the other person as someone whose feelings and words matter.
And from an English perspective, practicing active listening is also a wonderful way to improve your comprehension and your ability to respond naturally. The more you really listen, the better your English becomes in real conversations.
All right, I think we've covered this topic beautifully and thoroughly today. Let's take a moment to bring together the key ideas we've shared throughout this episode.
We started by understanding why this is hard. It's the fear of hurting others, the lack of right words, and the habit of being vague when we should be clear. Those are real and understandable challenges.
Then we talked about the core principles. Lead with genuine kindness, be direct and clear, and remember that you don't need to over-explain yourself. Your honest feelings are valid simply because they are yours.
We looked at what to do when someone pushes back. Stay calm, stay consistent, and use the gentle broken record approach to hold your position with warmth and firmness.
We shared practical English phrases for romantic situations, social situations, and professional situations. Phrases that are simple, warm, and effective, and that you can start using right away.
We talked about what not to do. No ghosting, no mixed signals, no excessive apologizing, no dragging the conversation on unnecessarily. Clean, clear, and kind. That's the goal.
We also talked about how to receive rejection gracefully, which is just as important as giving it. And we talked about timing, nonverbal communication, and the importance of honoring your own feelings alongside the feelings of others.
The biggest takeaway from all of this is that honesty, delivered with kindness, is one of the most respectful things you can offer another person. It takes courage, it takes practice, but it is always the right choice.
And from an English perspective, every phrase we shared today is a tool you can add to your communication toolkit. Practice them, repeat them, make them feel natural in your mouth. Because real English fluency isn't just about grammar. It's about being able to navigate real life with words.
That is so beautifully said, Ryan. And I think that's what makes today's episode so valuable. It's not just about language. It's about becoming a more thoughtful, honest, and emotionally intelligent communicator.
To everyone who listened today, thank you, truly. You invested your time in something that we hope will help you not just with your English, but with your life, and that means the world to us.
Thank you so much for being here. Every single listener is part of this wonderful community, and we are grateful for you. Please keep showing up, keep practicing, and keep growing, in English and in everything else.
If today's episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need it. Leave us a comment, tell us how it helped, and let us know what you'd like us to discuss next. Your voice shapes this podcast.
And before you go, we just want to gently remind you that Easy English Talk Podcast has so many other episodes waiting for you. Each one is designed to help you improve your English in a meaningful, real-world way.
Whether you want to get better at handling difficult conversations, improving your confidence in English, building your vocabulary, or understanding cultural situations, we have episodes for all of that. Take a look, explore, and find the topics that speak to you.
Every episode is made with the same care and intention as this one. So if you enjoyed today, we think you'll find a lot of value in what else is waiting for you on the channel. We're here every step of your journey.
Until next time, stay kind, stay honest, and keep learning. We'll see you in the next episode of Easy English Talk Podcast. Take care, everyone.
Take care, everyone. We'll talk soon.